Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Miles Morales was just a normal teenager. He was a student at Midtown High School in New York City. He was happy and had a thirst for knowledge, especially science. Miles was a young boy just like any other, working hard and doing the right thing. One day, Miles was about to head to class, thinking it was just like every other day, but something was about to happen that changed his life for good. While in chemistry class, Miles noticed that his good friend Peter Parker kept sneaking out of school. Miles grew suspicious, wondering if something was wrong with Peter, if he was okay. Miles was worried about his friend. So one day, Miles decided to follow Peter. Miles saw Peter sneak a mask from his bag, but it wasn't just any ordinary mask that Peter was sneaking. It was Spider-Man's mask. Miles couldn't believe it. Was his friend really the webbed wonder? The idea made Miles even more curious about Peter's behavior. So when Peter was leaving school that afternoon, Miles called to Peter. "Hey Peter, where are you headed?" Peter awkwardly smiled back and said, I've got an assignment for the Daily Bugle. Yeah, I've got to go." And with that, Peter Parker ran away and headed out of school. But Miles didn't believe that Peter went to the Daily Bugle. He followed Peter to a giant lab. Inside the lab, Miles lost track of Peter, and he didn't notice the genetically alternate spider slowly spinning a web and dropping down towards him. Yow! The spider bit Miles right on the hand. Miles knocked it off. He knew instantly that this was no ordinary spider bite. The spider was glowing. Instead of getting sick from the spider bite, Miles soon discovered that it gave him spider powers. "I've got to figure out what this means, what I should do." He ran home fast. Think, Miles told himself. If Peter really is Spider-Man, then what did he do? Miles searched for articles about Spider-Man. Okay, so you get powers. Check, then what? You make a costume and go stop bad guys. That seems obvious. With that, Miles created his own Spider-Man costume and leapt into the city. But before he could stop bad guys, Miles decided to test his newfound powers. "I could run on walls," Miles yelled as he scaled the side of a building. He was enjoying discovering his powers, and climbing walls wasn't the only superpower he had developed. What the heck? Miles couldn't ignore the ringing in his brain. It felt like a really bad headache. That's when he noticed that there were the burglars running behind him. Was this the spider sense that he had read about? In that instant, which started off as fun, became very scary. Miles had a really big decision to make. Should he run from the danger and stay safe, or should he use his powers to try stop these villains? After deliberately for a moment, Miles realized that if he was going to call himself Spider-Man, he was going to have to act like Spider-Man. Much to his surprise, Peter Parker, as the original Spider-Man, was already on the case. Peter was lifting one of the motorbike thieves above his head. The other criminal took the chance and was trying to get away, but Miles was able to help. "Hold on, Helmet Head," he announced. "The only place you're racing off to is prison." Miles had powers to match Peter's and was easily able to contain the thief. It wasn't until the action was over that Miles realized just how much danger he was really in. He climbed to the top of a building and wanted to fade away, which is exactly what he did. This was a brand new power, one that Peter didn't have. He camouflaged himself into his surroundings. Peter Parker swung up to where Miles had been. "Miles, is that you?" Peter called out. "I recognize your voice. Believe it or not, I know what you're thinking. I went through the same thing when I first got my powers." Miles was stunned. "You did?" "Sure I did," Peter said. "My Uncle Ben used to tell me that with great power there must also come great responsibility." Peter tossed Miles something from his costume. "Here, you can have these extra web shooters for now," said Peter. "Whoa, cool," Miles said while testing out the web shooters. They were going to help Miles swing around New York City and also web up bad guys. Miles looked up to Peter, figuring out what he should do. "Maybe I could follow you around for a few days, see how it goes." "I think that's a good idea, but you can't go around calling yourself Spider-Man, Miles. That name's taken." "Oh, I'm definitely Spider-Man," Miles said, smiling again. The two swung off together to patrol the friendly neighborhood. It wasn't long before Peter got them into quite a pickle, surrounded by some of the nastiest villains in New York City. And that's when Miles knew he was born for this. The battle roared while Peter kept poking fun at the rampaging villains. Miles was terrified. "How do you keep joking in the middle of a fight?" he asked Peter. "Aren't you scared?" That's when the rhino grabbed Peter by the neck. Peter couldn't say another word, funny or otherwise. Miles turned and let loose his newest and last power, another power that Peter didn't have. Miles would later call it his venom strike, and it put Rhino down for the count. Peter was safe. Miles and Peter wrapped up all the baddies with their web shooters, and now that New York City was safe again, it was time for a debrief. The two web slingers sat in a hidden alleyway to talk. Peter said, "Come on, if you're not going to change your name, you've got to learn how to crack jokes. It's part of the job. Give it a try." Miles scratched his head, thinking while looking down at the webbed-up villains. Then he said, "Looks like you've got yourselves into a sticky situation. Hey, evildoers." Peter sighed. "Wow, somebody called the doctor. You have no funny bone." By night, Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy are the superheroes known as Spider-Man and Ghost Spider. But by day, there are students, and sometimes that means homework. Today, that homework included visiting the art museum and writing about a piece of art that inspired them. They decided to invite along their new friend, Jean, who was their age but had just graduated from MIT, a college for super smart students. She had just moved to New York, so Miles and Gwen had taken her under their wings. "What's with all the security guards?" Miles asked. The guards were everywhere, watching all of the patrons very closely. "Haven't you heard?" Jean laughed. "There's a new thief in town called Finis. She's been robbing museums and posting videos of it online. She says she's the fastest and most agile thief in town. She even challenged superheroes to try and catch her." "Did she now?" Gwen said. She wanted to find out more about Finis. That night on patrol, Gwen and Miles watched Phineas's videos. She really was amazing. She spun like Black Widow. She fought like Hawkeye. She even threw a trash can lid like she was like Captain America. Gwen was sure she could do better. Gwen had never met a villain she couldn't catch. Just let me get a shot of her, Gwen growled. I'll show her fast and agile. All of a sudden, an alarm sounded. It was the same museum they had visited that morning. Looks like you might get your shot, Miles said. They swung off to investigate the alarm. When they arrived, there was Phineas, carrying one of the priceless paintings from the new exhibit. Hold it right there, Gwen yelled. You're not getting away with us. Phineas smiled slyly. I think you overestimate yourselves. A man stepped silently out from behind a pillar. He was wearing a white costume with black spots on it. This is the Spot. Phineas explained. He makes portals that make getaways. The Spot threw one of the black spots from his costume and it stuck to the wall. See you later, super losers. Phineas called as she jumped straight into the black spot and disappeared. Oh no you don't, Gwen yelled, diving through the portal after Phineas. Miles was left to face with the Spot. You wouldn't want to give up, would you? He asked. The Spot took another black spot off his costume and walked towards Miles. When Gwen came through the portal, she was on a rooftop. Phineas stood in front of her, grinning. Oh, is somebody finally going to give me a challenge? Phineas laughed, throwing a punch at Gwen's midsection. I'm going to give you a healthy dose of consequences for your actions, Gwen said as she dodged the punch by pulling a full front flip over Phineas. Now it was Gwen's turn. She shot her webs at Phineas, but Phineas did something that Gwen hadn't expected. She flipped exactly the way that Gwen just had. Anything you can do, I could learn just by seeing you do it, Phineas teased, tripping Gwen from behind. That's my power. As for Miles, he was trying to keep from falling into spots. The Spot threw them on the floor beneath him and into the wall, where he tried to land. He even threw them right at Miles. How was he supposed to stop this guy if he couldn't even land? Finally, Miles slingshot himself forwards, kicking straight at the Spot's face, but his foot went right through. The black spot on the Spot's mask was a portal too, Miles realized, but he was already falling into it. After popping in and out of roofs and walls, Gwen had lost sight of Phineas. She scanned the roof where she had popped out. I can't let her get away now, Gwen grumbled. Then she saw it, another portal on the rooftop. That must have been where Phineas had gone. Gwen dove through head first, and when she landed, Gwen was in for a big surprise. A big smelly open dumpster waited for her. You too, huh? Came the voice from the dumpster next to her own. It was Miles who had fallen through the portal in the Spot's mask and ended up here as well. I can't stand it, Gwen yelled. I almost had her. Next time, I'm gonna catch her. I know you want to prove you can beat her, Miles said, pulling a banana peel off his costume. But if we're going to stop these thieves, we need a plan. Miles and Gwen spent lunch the next day planning how they would handle things. When Phineas and the Spot tried to rob the museum the following day, they found Miles and Gwen waiting for them. Don't you know better than to steal ancient Egyptian artifacts, guys? Miles quipped. Yeah, that's how you get attacked by mummies, Gwen added. Finis grinned again. Well, if you want it back, you'll have to come and get it. With that, she ran for a nearby spot. She really gets on my nerves, Gwen grumbled. Stick to the plan, Miles urged. I am just. Don't let her get away. With that, Gwen shot her webline at the spot and let Miles chase Finis. When Finis looked behind her, there was nobody there. Had they just decided to let her go? Why would they do that? This was so strange that Finis, not seeing anybody chasing her, stopped running just long enough for Miles to catch up to her. He had used his active camouflage to make himself invisible, and Finis couldn't taunt what she didn't see. Got you! Miles reaching out a hand and used his venom blast to shock Finis. She dropped the statue and Miles snatched it up with his hand. Meanwhile, the Spot had a much harder time slowing down the agile Gwen. Each time he threw one of his spots, she webbed it up so she wouldn't fall through. She flipped, spun, and pirouetted away from the Spot. The Spot got so frustrated that he tried to jump through one of his own portals and ended up tangled in one of Gwen's webs. The next day, Gwen read the Daily Bugle headline to Miles. The Spot captured in historical heist. Finis flees. You're upset, aren't you? Miles asked. I let her get away to save the statue. Are you kidding? Gwen exclaimed. It couldn't have gone better. I nabbed the Spot and I get another shot at Finis next time. Shh! Miles cautioned as Jean sat down gingerly next to Gwen, holding her shoulder. Are you okay? Miles asked Jean. Oh, I'm fine, Jean assured him. I just messed up my shoulder last night. It won't happen again, though. The end.